discuss how we can work with Excel data source to understand how flow control works in Power Automate and how loops work and how to use expressions. Okay, so let us start with the prerequisites. Let me create a Excel sheet and with some records or data in a table. So let me go to the OneDrive business, and in the OneDrive business let me create a Excel sheet. So let me click on add new, and I want to create a new Excel workbook, and here I want to give the Excel workbook name as, let's say, doctor information. So I can give here, let's say, doctor. I can go here and just delete this. Just write down here doctor appointments. Doctor appointments info. Right. Now in this Excel sheet I want to define a information like which doctor name. Okay, and I want to mention, say, doctor name. Next, the patient count. So the requirement is every day the healthcare domain business update doctor names and the number of patients that has been treated by the doctor, and at the end of the day it should pick up the information and send to the respective administrators to understand which doctor is having maximum patient treated in a single day, and the which is the doctor who is treating maximum patients on that day, right? Now define some so now insert a table here. Go to select the first row and click on insert and insert a table. Specify my table as header and OK. Right, now it creates a table for us. So define some name. Let's say Rakesh Kumar. This is a doctor, and today he treated 50 patients. There is another doctor, let's say Suresh Nanda, who treated 30 patients. Next, let's say Rajlakshmi Lenka, and she treated 60 patients today. Next, let's say Priti Kumari, and this is also a doctor who treated 35 patients. Next, I want to add another Tushar Kapoor. This is also a doctor who treated 30 patients. Now this Excel sheet is intended to be updated manually by a receptionist or by a staff in the medical every day before 5 p.m. and at 6 p.m. every day it should pick up, the Power Automate should pick up the data and send the information in an HTML email to the respective administrator for analysis. Okay, so what I can do, I can just save it, and let us define or let us configure a Power Automate, scheduled Power Automate flow which will read this information and summarize the information or the patient count with respect to the doctors, and compose an HTML email and send to the respective administrators. Now go here and write down that, configure that Power Automate. So I can write down make.powerautomate.com, and here I can create a new scheduled flow. Now go to create, choose the correct environment here, and and once the correct environment is selected, you have to navigate to the create option to create a new schedule flow. Now here choose schedule flow, give a name here, let's say notify admin about daily patient count for doctors. Okay, here you can define the recurrence information. Let's say it should start from today and it should start from 10 a.m. for example, and repeat every one day, right? If you want to specify 6 p.m. you can define 6 p.m. like this. Okay, click on create. So my first requirement is it should run every day at 6 p.m. You can define the frequency again here by defining time zone. Let's say on India time zone it should run, so I can define the India time zone. And when it will start, let's say it will start from 11 a.m. so what I can do, I can define the hour here and 11 a.m. right, and I want to define yesterday. So as soon as I will save, it will start immediately because 11 a.m. is past and today 11 a.m. is past. That's why it will not execute today, but as because I have mentioned yesterday, so it will immediately run now and rerun again tomorrow, right? Or you can define 13 also because 11 a.m. is past, so it will immediately execute. Next, once the recurrence is done, what I want to read the Excel sheet information. So use a connector called as Excel Online and choose an action called as list rows present in a table, because I want to read all the rows present in that table in the Excel sheet and read the information for calculation. You can define the location. The location is OneDrive, so choose OneDrive as the location here. OneDrive for business. Then which document library? The document library is our OneDrive. Which is the file? You can choose the file whose file name is drappointmentinfo.xlsx. Which table? The table 1, because we have one table in that Excel sheet. Now this action steps retrieves all the rows present in the table in the Excel sheet, whatever information here we have, right? So what I want to get all the information from here and create a HTML table to send. So click on next step, and I want to use a HTML table, create HTML table. So search create HTML table. In the data operation we have create HTML table, and here you have to mention what should be the source information from where you want to create a HTML table. So the source information is present in the value list, okay, but do you want to define automatic columns or you want to define manually? So you can define manually. If you want to, let's say first header, it should display the doctors, and here the doctor name, right? First header and the value doctor name, and next is the patient count, and here you want to just define patient count, and here you have to define the patient count, right? So from this list it will create the HTML table, and you can send this HTML table in an email. So let me create a new step and add a send email step. I can use Office 365 Outlook, and I can choose here send email and define here to whom I want to send. I want to send this person. This is the administrator. Subject, the consolidated doctor and patient count for, I want to define current date and time. So to define current date and time, you can use an expression called as now. So you can take UTC now, so that it will convert, it will get the current date and time in UTC format, right? Now in the body, what you want to define? I want to define the HTML table that has been created previously in the previous step. So define dear administrator, please find the information in below table. Now I can define this output of this HTML table from the dynamic panel. So this is the output from this step, which contains the HTML table. Regards, automation flow, do not reply. So just a sample email body. Now let me save and test this, how it works. So I have just retrieved all the data from the Excel sheet, created an HTML table by extracting data from the Excel sheet table, and rendered that on a email body, and see what happens. I can test this. Click on run. Once it will run, it will automatically pull the data from this Excel sheet and render the HTML table and send an email. So let us wait. It is working. Now the flow runs successfully. Let me go to the Outlook and see if I have received that email or not as a administrator. You see, this is the email I have received, the first email. The consolidated doctor and patient count for current date. If the date is showing in a different format, you can format the date and time properly. You see here, dear administrator, please find the information. Here all the doctors and here all the patients. You can also define the style of the table in a proper way. So let us define the date with a better format and the table with a better format. You can go to the flow and click on edit. Here, if you want to add any style, you can click on coding. This is the code view, and you can write down here. You can write down a style here. You can define some CSS style for table. You can copy also CSS styles to use it in your code. Let's say this one you want to use, so you can copy the code. So this is the code where it is used. I can copy this and use it in my code. Now instead of this hash customer, just use table, because we have only one table. So you can use this table. No need to use hash, because you want to refer the style using direct tag, HTML tag. Okay, now the style is done. Next thing is I want to format this UTC now. What I can do, in the previous step I can take a convert time zone step which will convert the UTC time zone to current time zone with a better format. So use date time connector and use convert time zone. Define the base time as expression now, and I want to convert this UTC now from the UTC time zone, because normally Power Automate interact with date and time using UTC. So the base time zone is UTC. So select the UTC one. So this is the UTC coordinated universal time, and I want to convert to Indian time zone. So scroll down and define the Indian time zone from this list. This is India time zone. Which format you want to use? I want to use a long date and time format. Now here in the email, instead of direct UTC now, you can use the converted time dynamic content from the convert time zone step, so that whatever it is converted, it will display here. Now let us save and test how it is formatted. We will check that. We will test. We can use automated test with last successful run, so that it will pick up the last information and process it. Now let me go to the mail and check. It is already done. Now let me refresh. Let me discard this. Now you have received one email, you see, and here interestingly you get the formatted subject with better date and time, and also the table looks very interesting and well formatted, isn't it? Now in addition to this requirement, I want some more information, like in addition to this information, I want to define in this healthcare business what is the total number of patients treated by different doctors. So I want to sum up all the patient count and display in a top level value, right? So how can I do that? So to sum up all these informations, we need to do a loop, isn't it? So in Power Automate, we have to use a loop to go through all the records count, patient count, and sum it up. So go and write down that. Now here we are reading all information, right? Now I want to add a variable here, because the variable to start as counter. So search as variable, define a variable, and the variable define as a initialize variable. I can define counter, or I can define the total patient, okay, and this total patient will be an integer, and you can define the rename this step as total patient variable. Okay, now I want to go through loop and sum up all the patient counts of each row. So go and add an action after the variable, use control and apply to each loop. Apply to each patient present in apply to each record present in the list. So you have to assign the list item inside this apply to each loop that is present in the value dynamic content from list row present in a table step. So click on the value, because the loop will run through each records available in this value list present in this list row. What I want to do, I want to increment this variable by the patient count in each row present. So click on add an action and use increment variable. I want to use increment variable, and the variable should increment is total patient, and it should increment by the patient count. So I can search here patient count, right? So every time this loop, what this loop will do, this loop will run each record present in the Excel sheet and increment the value of total patient by summing up each record's patient count through a loop. And I can use total patient variable in my email body. I can go here and write down, please find the information below. The total patient, the total number of patients is, I want to define the dynamic content which name is variable, right? The variable is total patient. You understand? Now I want to define in a bold HTML tag so that it will display as a bold. Now let us save and test how it works. So we are expecting that it should display the total count of all patients treated by different doctors. Now you can test this again and see what happens. Now it is applying to each record through the loop, and if there is any error it will throw error. You see guys, the variable total patient is of type integer is initialized, but this stores as string value. What happens guys here, whenever we have assigned here the value patient count to sum up with total patient, the total patient is a variable of type integer, but the patient count referring to the Excel sheet record field or column is a string type. So the data type is not converted automatically. So what you need to do, you need to use an expression called as int. So you have to use int, then in bracket you have to pass the dynamic content total patient, so that it will convert the string to integer and assign here. This is how you can use expression to convert string to integer. Now save it and you can test this, because last time it was throwing error. What it is telling, the inputs of workflow run action increment variable of type increment variable are not valid. Self reference is not supported. Oh sorry guys, this is not total patient, this is the value integer we want to convert to the patient information, right? So where is our value patient? Let me go here, dynamic content, this patient count we want to take, right? So if you go to the expression and write down here int, if you go to the dynamic content, you see it is not showing the value called as patient count. So what you can do in this case, select any field, any dynamic content from this list, and instead of this, after this you have to pass the name of the column. The column name is patient count, right? Now click on update. So once you update, it will display like this. Okay, now you can save it and we can test. If there is any error, we can fix. Now let me test. Now I want to run the step which was failed again. Now this time also it is telling that unable to process the language here. Integer was invoked with a parameter that is not valid. That means we are writing something here which is not valid. It is not converting to valid. So what we can do, let us keep the value, the patient count in a variable. Okay, so let me take another variable, and this variable will used to store the each row's patient count. So click on the initialize variable and give a name counter patient count. Okay, I'll use as string, and I can define the name as counter patient count. This variable is required to store the patient count string. Okay, so click on this add an action and use set variable. So I can use variable, and this time I will use set variable. And which variable I want to set? I want to set counter patient count, and the value is patient count. This patient count is from each row it is processing. So when it will process first row, this variable will store first row patient count. When it will process second row, it will set the value of second records patient count. Okay, now I will move this increment variable below this counter, and here I want to use, because it is a string type we have taken variable, so here I can take expression integer and go to dynamic content and pull counter patient count. Now this will automatically convert the information of the patient count of a specific record to an integer. Okay, now you can test also. This is another way of using variables. Now save and test. I can use the same failed case and see what happens, or we'll see if it is running or not properly. Now apply to which loop is running, and now the flow runs successfully. I can check my email. You see guys, the email is received. The total number of patient is 205. So if you sum all these patient counts, it will give you 205. Right? So you understand how you can run through different items and calculate the sum information or addition of multiple row values. If you want to make it more complex, for example, let's say here it is displaying all the informations, which are the doctors and how many patients they are treating, and here we are showing total patients treated by our healthcare system or medical. But if I want to display or highlight or display here another information like that the doctor, which doctor treated maximum patients, how you can define that. Okay, this is easy, right? Displaying a list of records and defining a simple loop to calculate is easy. But when there is another requirement that you have to define the doctor doctor name who maximum treated patient count. Now here I can see that maximum patient count is for Raj Lakshmi Lenka. That means this patient information should be displayed on the top level because of my requirement. So how can you do that? For this you need to compare every row patient count by navigating through the loop, right? When it is processing first row, we can keep this value in a variable. Then when it is processing second, we want to check if this value is less than this value or not. If this is less than, keep this value as a maximum count, right? So like that. So this way we have to find out the maximum patient count treated by the doctor. So let us work on that. So we are going through loop one by one, right? So what we can do, we can add another variable before the loop. The variable will be one variable for to store the doctor which treated maximum patients. So initialize a variable and give a name, max doctor, max patient doctor. Okay, now here I want to store the doctor information, so use string and define the name as max patient doctor. Next, max patient count. This is max patient doctor name. You can define this as a name also, which will not confuse. Doctor name. Okay, and rename this to this. Add another variable to store the count variable and initialize a variable and define a name, max patient count by max doctor. Okay, so define the name as per your requirement. Okay, so this I want to make it integer and rename this step as same as this. Okay, now I want to, in this loop, apply to each loop, I want to define and I want to go through the loop and check whether this maximum patient maximum doctor patient count of the processing row is less than the existing patient count variable or not. So let us write down, add an action here. I want to compare here. So to compare, you can use condition. Okay, so here you can add another action, condition. So use control and condition, and here you can mention if the patient count, current records patient count, so initialize is 0. Okay, so counter, we have to initialize the max patient count is 0. Okay, and for doctor name, do not initialize anything. Okay, so if current processing records patient count is greater than equal to max patient count by max doctor. Initially it is 0. It is now processing first record, right? So first record's count is 50. So whenever the iteration will run, it will check if the 50 is greater than or equal to this. If it is greater than or equal to 0, that means assign this patient count to maximum patient count variable. So if it is greater than, then add an action and set variable. I want to set the variable maximum patient count is equal to the patient current records patient count, because patient count column value in the Excel sheet is greater than the maximum count. So I will assign this patient count. Okay, so for patient count, what you can do, For patient count, we are actually taking a variable here. We can use this counter patient count, right, which stores the value and using this integer expression. So I can use counter patient count variable instead of directly patient count, because we need to convert this, because this is a max patient count by max doctor is a integer, so we have to convert this to integer. So go here, write down integer, and in the dynamic content you can use counter patient count. Now this is the value of the current row patient count integer conversion. Now if it is not, if current records patient count is not greater than maximum count, then which is maximum in these two rows? The maximum is this one, which is previously available, right, in the maximum patient count by max doctor variable. So do we need to add any no branch action? Not required, right, because maximum patient is already no, but we have to assign if it is not greater than equal to this, then maximum patient value is equal to maximum value. So we have to assign the same value to the maximum patient by maximum patient count by max doctor. Okay. Now it will keep checking and assign this max patient count by max doctor. And here also I want to assign the doctor name. So I want to set the variable and use the variable name set variable and define the doctor max doctor name. And doctor name I can get from the same iteration doctor name, right? So you can rename this set max doctor name, and here also you want to rename set max patient count. Okay, now done. Now these two variable I can use in my HTML table. So I can go to HTML table and write down here. I will give another breakpoint here and write down the doctor who treated maximum patients is, I want to mention inside a bold HTML tag and dynamically the max patient doctor name, right? Again I want to add another, so you can give a breakpoint so that it will give a new line. The doctor who treated maximum patient is this. The doctor who treated maximum patient is this, and total patient treated by this doctor is, I want to define the count. So the count is available here. What is the total count? Counter patient count, right? No, you should search max. This is the max count, patient count by max doctor. Now save it and test this. We are expecting that it should display the maximum doctor name and maximum patients count in top level. So let me test this using the last test run information. Now the run flow failed. There is some reason here. Condition at line 0, the template language function greater or equal to expects 2 parameter. Okay, so here we have done something wrong here. Is greater than or equal to. patient. What is the error? Let me check. Always you need to identify proper error. You have to analyze the error before you take any step for fixing or troubleshooting. It is very usual that you might have given wrong action or condition. Here it is telling greater or equals expects to parameter of matching type. Why it is the matching type should be same, but you have matched as string and integer. So what you can do? You have to convert the data type either both to integer or string. So let me convert that in the condition, both, because this is string and this is integer. So I have to convert this to integer. So I can define an expression here, delete this and define an expression integer, and inside that you need to pass counter patient count. This stores the variable which is a string type, which stores the current records patient count. So you can define OK. Now save it and we can test this. Now let me rerun again, retest. Now this time I am expecting it should run successfully and we get exactly the result as we are expecting. Now let me go, it runs successfully. Let me go to the email and check. You see guys, this is very interesting. Please find the information below. Timing is mentioned. The total number of patients is 205. The doctor who treated maximum patient is Rajalakshmi Lenka, and this is the doctor. And total patient treated by this doctor is 60. You see guys, it pulled the number 60 and displayed here. So this is how you can use the control flow, conditions and loops, also using variables to manage temporary values. Understand? If any question, you can add in the comment. Thank you everyone. Bye.